Some action movies play it safe. Others, they hang by a thread and hope you're scared to look down.
We're hearing reports of an incident at the Agnian Tower.
Cleaner 2025 is one of those movies. Suspended hundreds of feet above London, Daisy Ridley trades lightsabers for squeegees in a high-rise hostage thriller that blends vertigo-inducing action with eco-terrorist drama. But does Cleaner manage to carve out its own identity? Or is it just Die Hard in a jumpsuit? Let's break down the madness.
999, what's your emergency?
Are you kidding me?
It's been a long time coming, but Cleaner finally puts Daisy Ridley back in the action spotlight. She plays Joey, an ex-soldier turned window cleaner, because that's a career transition Hollywood loves. With her autistic brother Michael recently kicked out of his care facility, Joey's already juggling family drama when a group of armed eco-activists storms the high-rise corporate gala where she's working. Trapped outside on a window washing platform, Joey is the only person close enough to take action. But being stuck 70 floors up with a squeegee for a weapon? Yeah, that's not exactly the ideal hero setup. But let's be real. When you hear window cleaner action movie, your first instinct is to laugh. And you should. Cleaner leans into the absurdity, turning it into part of its identity. There's no shame here. It knows exactly what it is. A high-stakes, lowbrow mashup of Die Hard, The Towering Inferno, and about half a dozen direct-to-video thrillers you'd half-watch on a plane.
Greedy, needy, cocky. We're going to shine a light on your crimes.
But the question is, does it work? Does Cleaner find a balance between high-rise thrills and character-driven action, or does it slip and fall into cliché territory? The opening sets the tone with Joey's backstory, a dishonorably discharged ex-soldier turned window cleaner, honing the very skills she'll need to survive. It's silly, but it works. That early character work is one of the movie's strengths, giving Joey just enough depth to make her struggle matter. She's not the quippy everyman like John McClane, but a colder, more emotionally bottled up lead whose cracks only show around her brother.
Someone got inside.
One of the cleaners. Find them.
Put it down.
That sibling bond is the film's emotional core. Joey's fight isn't just for survival, it's to save the only family she's got. Ridley and Matthew Tuck sell it well, giving us tender moments between bursts of chaos. It's not subtle, but it gives Cleaner a pulse that's missing from a lot of modern action flicks. Martin Campbell is no stranger to reviving classic action formulas. He did wonders for James Bond with GoldenEye and Casino Royale, injecting grit and realism into an aging franchise. With Cleaner, he seems to embrace a more playful approach. The film feels less grounded than his Bond flicks, like he knows it's half homage, half parody, and he's content to let you enjoy the ride. Campbell's stage is tight, claustrophobic fight scenes in narrow corridors, then pulls back for breathtaking wide shots of London. The interplay between interior chaos and exterior vertigo is the movie's signature style. If you're a fan of old-school action direction, you'll appreciate the clarity of the set pieces. No shaky cam overload, no quick-cut confusion.
No cleaner who couldn't hack the army.
I'm not gonna let you down.
But once the eco-terrorists, led by Marcus as Clive Owen, storm the building, the movie's personality starts to shift. Clive Owen's brief stint as the idealistic leader is wasted. He's out of the picture faster than you can say Hans Gruber, leaving the real villainy to Tez Skyler's Noah. Noah is less mastermind and more loose cannon, turning the group's Save the Planet mission into a blood-soaked manifesto. It's here where Cleaner starts to lose focus, caught between mocking corporate greed, preaching environmental doom, and just blowing stuff up for fun. Can an action movie juggle environmental messaging, family drama, and high-rise stunts without collapsing under the weight? The short answer is, not really. The movie's at its best when it shuts up and lets Riley climb, crawl, and fight her way through impossible odds. The problem is, she spends far too much of the runtime stranded outside, dangling like a lost car key, while the villains bicker and the plot stalls. When Joey finally gets inside for some face-to-face action, it's almost too late to care. That's a shame because Martin Campbell still knows how to shoot action. There's a tactile, old-school quality to the stunts, the kind of practical tension you only get when you put actors somewhere dangerous and let the camera linger. Whether it's Joey shimmying across a narrow ledge or fending off a goon in a boiler room, you feel the danger. Campbell milks every creak and crack for all it's worth, reminding you just how much air is between Joey and the pavement.
Ex-army.
Does Cleaner stick the landing when it comes to action, or does it slip into forgettable punch and kick territory? The good news? When it's time to throw down, Cleaner delivers. The bad news? Those moments are too few and too late. A lot of the runtime is spent on limp exposition, eco-terrorists monologuing about corporate greed, Joey trying to contact the outside world, and a subplot about the brother that's equal parts heartwarming and half-baked. When the action does hit, it's brutal, messy, and surprisingly grounded. Fights feel desperate, not choreographed, which fits the window cleaner versus gunman setup. Ridley doesn't move like a super soldier, she moves like someone who knows she's one slip away from splattering on the sidewalk.
What's your emergency?
Are you fucking kidding me?
But then there's the bigger problem, Joey's invincibility. For a movie built on tension, there's not much sense that Joey's ever in real danger. She barely gets scratched, barely shows fear, and breezes through problems that should be paralyzing. Compared to John McClane's sweaty, battered survival, Joey's struggle feels scripted rather than earned. Can Joey actually lose in this fight, or is she just too overpowered for any of this to matter? The lack of vulnerability is Cleaner's biggest flaw. No matter how high the stakes, how far the fall, you never believe Joey's going to lose. That's a huge part of what made Die Hard iconic. McClane bled, panicked, and improvised his way to victory. Joey? She's a window cleaner with a military past, which apparently means she's unstoppable. It's not Ridley's fault, she brings physicality and commitment, but the script never lets her struggle enough to make her triumph satisfying. What made Die Hard work wasn't just that John McClane was in the wrong place at the wrong time, it was that he was vulnerable and barely held himself together by the end. Every fight took a toll, meaning every counter mattered. Joey, on the other hand, spends most of Cleaner looking like she's halfway through a moderately challenging CrossFit routine. There's never a moment where she seems overwhelmed, outmatched, or even genuinely scared, which is a shame, because Ridley absolutely has the chops to sell that kind of grounded vulnerability. This lack of tension extends to everything. Noah starts off promising enough, Taz Skylar brings some manic energy to the role, oscillating between charismatic leader and unhinged zealot. But the script doesn't seem to know what to do with him. One moment, he's delivering impassioned speeches about corporate greed. The next, he's murdering hostages just to make a point. Is he a true believer? A psychopath? The film never decides, and by the time the final confrontation rolls around, Noah feels like just another generic bad guy who happened to read an environmental blog once.
Everyone's got a personal, Joey.
If you touch him,
Is Cleaner trying to be smarter than it needs to be, and does that hurt the fun? The truth is, Cleaner is at its best when it forgets all that and just lets Ridley fight for her life. There's an undeniable thrill to watching her dangle off ledges, wedge herself between collapsing platforms, and go toe-to-toe with gunmen in close quarters. Those sequences, when Campbell just locks in and lets the action unfold, remind you why he's still one of the best to ever do it. But for every great stunt, there's a clunky monologue, a pointless subplot, or a baffling creative choice. It's a movie that wants to be Die Hard, The Poseidon Adventure, and The Day After Tomorrow all at once, but it never quite figures out what it's best at. The supporting cast doesn't fare much better. Michael, Joey's autistic brother, exists less as a character and more as a walking plot device, a constant reminder of what's at stake, but never someone with real agency. Clive Owen, criminally underused as one of the corporate bigwigs, barely registers before being unceremoniously written out. And the rest of the eco-terrorists? They're basically henchmen with vague ideological motivations.
Needy, cocky. We're going to shine a light on your crimes. So you will be worthless. Cheers.
By the time we reach the final act, Cleaner fully embraces its die-hard knockoff roots. Joey's final showdown with Noah takes place on, where else? A glass-walled rooftop, with London's skyline glittering in the background. The fight itself is competently staged, but completely predictable. There's never any doubt Joey will come out on top, and when Noah inevitably plunges to his death, it feels less like a climax and more like a contractual obligation. With so much going on, does Cleaner ever settle into its own identity, or is it just a patchwork of better movies? In the end, Cleaner is a fascinating mess. It's part high-rise thriller, part family drama, part eco-satire, and part action showcase for Daisy Ridley. It's never boring, but it's rarely great. Campbell's action instincts keep it watchable. Ridley's commitment gives it some heart, but the messy script and tonal whiplash keep it from ever reaching the heights it's aiming for. It's not the next Die Hard, nor does it pretend to be subtle about its influences. It's a glossier, more outlandish riff on the tried and true lone hero versus terrorist formula, elevated, pun intended, by an extreme vertical setting and Daisy Ridley's determined performance. Is it groundbreaking cinema? No. Is it a decent popcorn flick that'll entertain you for a couple of hours? Absolutely. If you can overlook the thinly sketched villains and a hero who's a bit too unstoppable for her own good. If you crave that nostalgic feel of a single building siege, complete with radio chats, improbable escapes, and a final boss fight in the rafters, then Cleaner might scratch that itch. Just don't expect the raw grit or emotional resonance that made Die Hard a timeless classic. This is more of a slick, modern remix with a side of environmental moralizing. So is Cleaner worth your time? If you want a slick, silly, and occasionally thrilling action movie with just enough character to keep you invested, yeah, give it a watch. But if you're hoping for the next Die Hard, you might want to clean your, well, windows and look elsewhere. At the end of the day, Cleaner is either a gutsy action throwback or a hot mess dangling by a thread. And now, it's your turn to decide. Does this movie clean up or does it leave a streak? Let us know in the comments.